The cake was still sweet on my tongue when it hit me in the face. But the sting wasn't from the sugar, it was from the betrayal in my daughter's eyes as she shouted words I never thought I'd hear. She stood there, her fingers sticky with frosting, her breath ragged with rage. "It's already mine," she screamed, pointing at the old deed on the kitchen table like it was a knife. I didn't move. Not when the cake slid off my face. Not when the room fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. And not when she stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard that a framed picture of her 8th grade graduation trembled on the wall. My name is Walter Camden. I'm 76 years old. And until today, I thought I had raised a kind woman. But today she smashed a cake in my face for not giving her my home. Let me go back. You need the whole picture. It was my birthday. 76. I don't make a big fuss over these things anymore, but Emily insisted. My daughter always had a flair for celebration streamers, confetti, those annoying little party horns. She brought my favorite cake from a bakery in town. Lemon with raspberry filling. She'd even written, "To Dad," with love in pink cursive across the top. I believed the gesture. I believed she meant it. We sat at the kitchen table where she used to do her homework. The same table where she first told me she wanted to be a pediatrician. That dream died in her sophomore year of college, traded for a business degree and a job in real estate she claimed to love. Now she was 39. No husband. No kids. Just long hours, fancy blazers, and a drive that scared me sometimes. Over dinner, she'd hinted about the market. How property values were soaring. How smart people were making moves. I thought it was just her usual work talk. Then, as we cut the cake, she slid a folder across the table. "Dad," she said, too cheerfully, "I had these papers drawn up, just to save you trouble later." "What papers?" She smiled. "It's just the house deed. I've got it ready for you to transfer the title over to me. That way, we don't have to deal with probate or any of that mess if something happens. I've even got a notary appointment set for tomorrow." I blinked. "Emily, what?" She pushed the folder closer. "It just makes sense, Dad. You're not getting any younger. And if something happens, the state could eat up the whole estate in fees. This is cleaner." "It's my house," I said. "I know," she replied, with that syrupy tone she uses when she's trying to win. "But I'll be taking care of it eventually. Why not get ahead of it now?" My hands went cold. "This is the home your mother and I built together. The place we raised you. And it's still going to be in the family," she snapped. "Just with me. I've already started plans to renovate. Open up the kitchen. Knock out that wall between the den and the living room." I stared at her, stunned. "You've already made plans?" "Well, yeah," she said too fast. "I thought you'd say yes." That's when I pushed the folder back. And that's when the cake hit my face. After she left, I sat at the table a long time. The air smelled like sugar and hurt feelings. I peeled frosting from my ear, still stunned. How had we gotten here? She was only 5 when Martha, wife, her mother, died. I'd raised Emily alone, learned how to braid her hair, pack her lunches, stay up late helping her build science fair projects. I gave her everything I had, but I never gave her entitlement. I cleaned up the mess in the kitchen and sat by the fireplace with an old photo album. Emily at the beach. Emily in braces. Emily in my arms the day she was born. She used to call me her hero. The phone rang just before midnight. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was calm again. She said she was sorry, that she overreacted, that maybe we could talk. She didn't mention the cake. The next morning, I opened my front door and found a bouquet of peonies. No note, just the flowers. I left them on the porch. A week passed. Then 2. Emily stopped calling. I got a letter from a lawyer. She was filing a motion to have me declared mentally unfit to manage my estate. Said I was showing signs of dementia. That I'd refused reasonable financial planning for my declining years. She cited my refusal to sign the house over as evidence. I nearly threw up. This wasn't about love. This was war. And I had to decide if I was going to fight back. I called the lawyer. A real one. Not the one she hired. His name was Joe Franklin. He was gray-haired, straight-talking, and didn't flinch when I told him everything. He asked me some memory questions, did a few cognitive tests, and then looked me in the eye. "Walter, you're sharper than most 60-year-olds I know. She doesn't have a case." "Then why is she doing this?" I asked. He shrugged. "Money changes people. Or maybe it just shows who they really are." I felt something crumble inside me. Not just the trust but the story I'd always told myself about my daughter. The one where she'd grow old taking care of me, not plotting to take what I still held dear. Joe helped me draft a will. He made sure the deed stayed in my name. We set up power of attorney, someone neutral and trusted. My niece, Julian, filed a counter-motion against Emily's mental health claims. It was ugly, and it wasn't over. But I wasn't going down without protecting what mattered. Emily didn't take the counter-motion well. 2 days after my lawyer filed the documents, I heard a knock. A loud, deliberate knock, the kind that rattles more than just the door. When I opened it, there she stood, arms crossed, mouth tight as piano wire. "You got a lawyer?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes. You think I'm trying to steal from you?" I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her, the woman I'd read bedtime stories to, the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest during thunderstorms. I wanted to say I didn't believe it. But the cake, the documents, the legal papers, they all screamed otherwise. "I think you're trying to take something that isn't yours," I said, finally. "At least not yet." She stepped into the house without asking. She still remembered every creak of the floorboards, every wall she'd once plastered with posters of pop stars and college acceptance letters. She stood in the living room, staring at the fireplace. "You've always been dramatic," she muttered. "Just like Mom." That stung. "I loved your mother," I said quietly. "Yeah? Then maybe you should let go of the museum," she said, motioning to the house. "Let it evolve. Let it live on. You can't take it with you, Dad." "It's not about the house," I said. She turned. "Then what is it about?" I wanted to say it was about love, about respect, about legacy, but I could see she didn't understand those things the way I did. Not anymore. Her eyes weren't filled with understanding or even grief, they were filled with hunger. Not for food or shelter, but for control, ownership, final say. I took a breath. "It's about how you asked." She rolled her eyes. "You mean because I didn't beg?" "No," I said. "Because you didn't ask at all. You planned. Behind my back. And when I didn't play along, you smashed a cake in my face and tried to prove I'd lost my mind." "I was angry," she snapped. "You don't understand, Dad. I've been planning to move back here. I gave notice at my apartment. I listed my car for sale. I even found a buyer for this place at twice what it's worth, someone who wants to knock it down and build condos." My stomach turned. "You were going to sell it?" She hesitated. "Only after I moved you somewhere better. A retirement community. They have games and activities and nurses." "I have a nurse," I said. "Her name is me. I walk. I drive. I make my own breakfast. I'm not dying, Emily. But you're alone." I didn't argue that. It was true. I was alone. But I'd take loneliness over betrayal. "Please," she said, softening. "Just think about it." I already did. And with that, I opened the door and let her leave. Again, I started locking it after that. It's funny how something so small, turning a bolt, can feel like boarding up your heart. She didn't call again for weeks. Not even through the lawyer. But other things started to happen. The mail came opened. A stranger showed up at my door, clipboard in hand, claiming to be from Adult Protective Services. Said they had an anonymous report about elder neglect, self-neglect, to be exact. I clean. I cook. I garden. I told the young woman who looked barely old enough to rent a car. "The only thing I neglect is my golf swing." She didn't laugh. They filed a report anyway. My bank called 2 days later. Someone had tried to access my account using an outdated power of attorney Form 1 I'd given Emily when she was in grad school in case of emergency. I'd forgotten it even existed. Now she was trying to use it to move money. Joe helped me revoke it. We filed a restraining order, not out of spite, but necessity. That night, I cried in the laundry room. I didn't want the neighbors to hear. It's hard to explain what it feels like when your only child turns on you. There's shame. There's guilt. And worst of all, there's doubt. I started second-guessing everything. Maybe I had been too controlling, too protective. Maybe I'd sheltered her so much that she never learned to lose. Maybe I'd loved her so fiercely that she mistook it for possession. But then I'd remember her voice on the day of the cake. "It's already mine." Like I was just a tenant waiting for eviction. A month later, Julia, my niece, came to visit. She brought soup, chicken, and wild rice, just like her mother used to make. Julie was in her early 40s, with gentle eyes and a laugh that could clear storm clouds. She'd been close to Emily once. They grew up like sisters. "I'm sorry it's come to this," she said, after we sat on the porch. I nodded. "Me too. She's been posting things online," Julie added, carefully, "about you. That you're confused." That you've been manipulated. That you're being kept from your family. I sighed. By who? The cat. Julie gave me a sad smile. You're not confused, Uncle Walter. You're hurt. And you're trying to do the right thing. I see that. So do other people. You're not alone. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that. Thank you, I whispered. Do you want me to talk to her? Julie offered. Maybe get her to back down? I shook my head. Not yet. Then what? I need to know why, I said. Why she's doing this. Not just the house, not just the money. I need to know what I did. Or didn't do. Julie was quiet for a moment. Then she said something I'll never forget. Maybe it's not what you did. Maybe it's what the world did. Some people get hardened by grief. Others they get hollow. Weeks turned into months. The court case was slow, but steady. Emily's motion to claim I was mentally unfit was denied. Joe had made sure of that. We submitted affidavits, medical records, everything. Still, she didn't stop. She sent emails with subject lines like, "One last chance," and "Sell now or lose everything." She tried to go around me, contacting neighbors, saying I was a danger to myself. I stopped answering. But I never stopped hoping. Not really. Not until the day I received the offer letter. It was a thin envelope with a fancy seal. A development firm based in Austin. Inside, an offer. Full market value, cash, for my property as is. The wording was familiar. So was the signature at the bottom. Emily. She was listed as their acquisitions consultant. She hadn't just given up on getting the house. She was actively trying to buy it out from under me. I stared at the paper a long time. Then I burned it. The turning point came on a Tuesday in April. Joe called. She dropped the case. I sat down hard on the porch swing. What? She withdrew her motion to have you declared unfit. And she's no longer contesting your will or your estate plan. I blinked into the sunlight. Why? She didn't say. Just told her lawyer she was done. Said she wanted nothing from you anymore. It felt like someone had lifted a weight off my chest and replaced it with a brick. Do you think she means it? I asked. Joe sighed. That's not my department. I didn't hear from her for 4 months. Then, one night, my doorbell rang. I opened it slowly. There she was. No blazer. No heels. Just a sweatshirt and jeans. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. In her hands, another cake. Lemon with raspberry. I'm not here to take anything, she said softly. I'm just here to say I'm sorry. Tears welled up in my eyes before I could stop them. You smashed the last one in my face, I croaked. She gave a sad smile. I know. Why? I asked. Why did you do all of it? She looked down. I was scared, she whispered. Of losing you. Of not being ready. Of waking up one day and finding out you were gone, and I had nothing to hold on to. Then you should have held on to me, I said. I know, she said again. We stood there in silence. Then I stepped aside. She came in. We ate the cake every last bite. And we didn't talk about deeds, or money, or what we'd lost. We just talked about her mother. About childhood. About love. The night Emily returned with the cake, we sat at the same kitchen table where it all fell apart. But this time, there were no contracts, no yelling, just silence thick with the unspoken things between us. I brewed some tea while she sliced the cake. She served it on the same plates her mother once picked out from a flea market downtown, blue porcelain, chipped on the edges, but still good for holding sweetness. I looked through Mom's old recipe box last week, she said, almost in a whisper. Found her handwriting on a sticky note. Said, don't forget lemon zest. I cried for 10 minutes. I looked at her, really looked, and saw the girl I used to lift onto my shoulders at the fair. Not the woman with lawsuits and greed in her eyes, but someone scared and tired, just like me. Why now? I asked. She pushed a raspberry to the side of her plate. I went to see Dr. Sanders. I blinked. The therapist? She nodded. After everything. I wasn't sleeping. I was angry all the time. Not just with you, with everything. And he asked me something I couldn't answer. What was it? She swallowed. He said, what are you really trying to take from your father? Not the house. Not the money. But something deeper. And I couldn't answer him. Because I didn't even know. The lights above the table flickered gently. The wind rustled through the back porch screen. I think I wanted to feel like I had control, she said. After Mom died, I never felt safe again. And watching you get older, it scared me. I couldn't lose you too. So I tried to own the only thing that ever made me feel close to her. My house, I said. Our home, she corrected. I should have asked. I should have waited. I should have trusted you to leave me something not just in paper, but in memory. The lump in my throat felt like a stone. I set down my fork and leaned back. I said, I'm not mad at you for being scared. I've been scared too. Every time I miss a step going down the stairs. Every time I can't remember what day it is. I get it. She looked up, eyes glassy. So you forgive me? I'm trying, I said. Forgiveness isn't a light switch. But if you're willing to come back not just for my house, but for me, we can find our way back. She reached across the table. I took her hand. The months that followed weren't perfect, but they were better. Emily started visiting every Sunday. Sometimes with takeout, sometimes with groceries, always with a story. She stayed off the topic of inheritance. She brought me books she thought I'd like, and I gave her the old photo albums I'd kept tucked away in the hallway closet. One afternoon in June, we sat under the oak tree in the backyard. The same tree she used to climb barefoot as a kid. You know, she said, I could still move in. Just for a little while. Help you out. Fix the shed. Paint the guest room. I raised an eyebrow. And knock out a few walls while you're at it? She laughed. No, not anymore. I think I'd like that, I said, surprised by my own answer. We watched the light filter through the leaves, dappling the grass in shifting golds. It wasn't that the pain was gone. It was that it had company now. Real company. The kind that brings soup when you're sick and listens when you ramble and doesn't ask for the deed to your soul in exchange for their love. In August, we took a short trip to the coast. She drove. I navigated. We ate fried fish on the boardwalk and laughed at how slow I'd become walking across the sand. She found a shell and tucked it into her pocket. I saw her smile and remembered a younger version of her, holding the same kind of shell, asking if she could keep it forever. You don't have to give me the house, Dad, she said on the drive back. Just let me earn it. I didn't answer. I just reached over, squeezed her hand once, and watched the road disappear beneath the tires. A few weeks later, I made a small change to my will. I added a note not legal, just personal. It read, to my daughter, Emily, I leave this house to you, not because you asked, but because you came home. You broke something, yes, but you also stayed to fix it. And that's what this house is built on. Not walls, not bricks, but forgiveness. I left the note in the top drawer of my desk. One day she'll find it. Not today. Today, we're just living. The summer faded into fall. Leaves blanketed the yard like memory warm, brittle, fleeting. Emily stayed over more often now. She took the guest room without asking, folding herself gently into the rhythms of the house, like she'd never left. There was a quiet understanding between us. A kind of treaty, not signed with ink, but with patience. She helped in the kitchen, even though she was terrible at chopping onions. I taught her how to prune the roses out back. We sat on the porch on crisp afternoons, sipping coffee and reading silently, side by side. There were no more lawsuits. No more papers slid across the table. But there was still a shadow between us. Something unspoken that lingered, like the echo of a slammed door or the sting of frosting in your eyes. One evening, as I sat by the fireplace nursing a sore knee, Emily brought out a shoebox. I found this in the attic, she said. She sat beside me, opening it like a sacred ritual. Inside were letters. Old ones. Dozens of them. She pulled one out and read aloud. Dear Martha, I miss you tonight. Emily lost another tooth. She told me she wants to be a fairy so she can leave money under everyone's pillows. I told her that would make you proud. I wish you could have seen her dance recital. She was all knees and elbows, but she twirled like the sun was watching. Love always. Walter. I didn't remember writing it. But the moment she read it, I was there again sitting on the porch, missing Martha so bad I could hardly breathe, trying to turn grief into something tangible. You kept these? I asked. She nodded. All of them, tied up in Mom's scarves. I used to sneak up here and read them when I was little. I didn't understand most of them, but I knew you loved her. I still do, I said. She handed me another. You should read this one. I unfolded the page, old and soft from time. Dear Emily, one day you'll be grown, and I'll be old. I hope you remember the way we used to sing in the truck on the way to school. I hope you remember that I let you win at Monopoly because I loved your smile more than victory. I hope you forgive me for the mistakes I'm bound to make. And I hope you always know this house is not just made of wood. It's made of us. I choked up. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We didn't need to say anything else that night. By October, something had shifted. It started small. I caught Emily lingering near my pill bottles in the bathroom, quietly counting. Then she began asking little questions more often. Did you eat breakfast? Did you check the mail? Did you remember to take your meds? I brushed it off as care until one afternoon I overheard her on the phone. His memory slips sometimes, she said. Not huge things, but little ones. I don't want to panic. I just want to be prepared. I waited until she hung up. Who was that? I asked. She turned slowly, caught. Dr. Sanders, she admitted. I told him I was worried about you, that you might be showing signs of cognitive decline. I'm not, I said sharply. I know, she said quickly. I mean, I hope not. But it doesn't hurt to be proactive. I felt the walls tighten. Is this happening again? I asked. Are you gearing up to take it all back? No, she said firmly. I swear. I'm just scared. That makes two of us. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I said, let's go see a doctor. Together. You pick him, but I want you to hear it from someone else. She agreed. The test was long, tedious. Memory drills, drawings, recall, orientation. The neurologist DR. Gwen was kind, but thorough. When it was done, he invited us both into his office. Walter, he said, you're doing well for your age. You have some minor signs of age-related cognitive decline. Nothing alarming. Nothing clinical. In fact, you're in better shape than many of my 65-year-old patients. Emily exhaled. So no early Alzheimer's? She asked. No dementia, he confirmed. You're lucky. I looked at her, waiting to see what came next. She reached for my hand. Thank you, she whispered. And I knew she meant it. That night, as we stood in the kitchen washing dishes, she said something unexpected. I've been thinking of going back to work. I raised an eyebrow. Real estate? No, she said. Teaching. Maybe kids. Maybe adults. Something slower. Something with more meaning. I smiled. That's more like the girl I raised. She rolled her eyes. Don't make it a lecture, Dad. I'm not. I'm just glad you're finding your way. She looked down at the soapy sink. For a long time, I thought success meant closing deals, buying property, moving fast. But I think I was just afraid of being still. Stillness isn't failure, I said. Sometimes it's where all the truth lives. She dried her hands. Then she said, do you think Mom would be proud of me? That question shattered me. I walked over and wrapped my arms around her, the way I hadn't since she was a teenager sobbing after a breakup. Yes, I whispered. I think she'd be very, very proud. The holidays came, and with them, warmth I hadn't felt in years. Julie visited, along with her twin boys. We put up Christmas lights around the porch. Emily made cookies that came out looking like misshapen blobs, but we ate them anyway. On Christmas morning, Emily gave me a box with a key inside. I looked at her, puzzled. I bought a small cabin, she said. Up near the lake. Just a couple rooms. But it's quiet. Peaceful. I thought. Maybe we could go there sometimes. Or maybe you and I could each go when we need space. I nodded, emotion clogging my throat. It's not much, she said. It's enough, I replied. Inside my gift to her was a photo of the house, the one we lived in, with the words, home is who you forgive, written on the back. On New Year's Eve, we sat on the porch as fireworks echoed in the distance. Next year, she said, can we plant a garden? Only if you promise not to overwater the tomatoes again. She laughed. Deal. I watched her face, lit softly by moonlight and memory. And I realized something I hadn't been able to admit before. She had changed. So had I. And maybe that was the point. That love isn't about permanence. It's about return. About choosing to stay even after the frosting has settled and the words have cut deep. I didn't give her my house, but I gave her my heart again. And that was harder and braver